All right, it's Bill here. Really excited for the Super Series 1 to start in PDC. I'm going to give you my predictions on and give you the 10 players I think are going to do the best. Perfect. Bill here. Starting tomorrow, the PDC Super Series starts with 4 players championship round, or 4 player championships over 4 days. They'll crown 1 champion a day. The series, the first 4, and what I'm going to do is take some time to predict who I believe is going to be the top 10 dollar winners over the 4 days, and I'll predict that, and let's see how I do. Can't be any worse than trying to pick the UK qualifying school. So what I've said to myself is on the 10th pick, I have to pick one of the 19 new tour card holders as my pick. Here's who I think is going to do well. First of all, you're starting off at the beginning of the season. Typically what you're going to see is the darts players, the higher ranked players, are going to want to lay down a marker, and you will have the nerves of the new players, and then you've got the nerves of some of the players that are on their second year of the card and not in the top 64. The pressure starts to build. And then you've got the extra pressure on some of the top players that are defending a lot of money this year. So taking that into account, here's who I predict, and the order that I'm going to set it in is the order that I think that will finish the highest. First one's Gerwin Price. I'm going to take Gerwin Price. He won multiple PDC championships last year. Playing well. He didn't seem to lose too much form in the Masters, although he got beat by Mervyn King in the semifinals. Just like his game overall, he always plays well on the floor. Consistency. He was so consistent that he could take a couple events off at the end of last year so he could go home because he already won the first 2. So like Gerwin Price to win at least one of them and certainly be high in the money ranking. Second pick is Peter Wright. Again, Peter Wright's one of those players that very consistent. If you looked at his year last year until the last series, the winter series, he had won his board every event, which means he's in the round of 16 every event. I don't see that changing here. Again, I guess you could draw, in this case, you could probably draw Raymond van Barneveld in your first round or something along those lines. But Peter Wright's consistent. Hits 100 averages for fun. Might have a slip up here and there. Even when he lost last year, I think before his board final, the person who beat him had 107 average. I think it was Kei-Fan Long. I just like Peter Wright to be consistent in what you would call proper darts. No pressure. Who knows what darts he's going to play with, but I don't think it really matters. Like Peter Wright to at least win one of these events as well, and then consistently in round of 16 or in the quarterfinals. Next one up, toss this one around a little bit, but I'm still going to land on. You always try to find ways to not include Michael van Gerwen in your list, because then you look like a genius if he doesn't show up in the top 10. But no, you can't do that. I know, obviously he'll be. His confidence is certainly, to me, it has been fading. Got beat by Johnny Clayton in the Masters in the first round for the second year in a row. He's not the feared player that he was before, but I don't think any player wants to draw Michael van Gerwen. He might be playing with the new set of darts, which you take into account, but at the end of the day, he'll probably have one really good run, probably win a championship that's going to put him high in the money, and I see him finishing definitely in the top 10 for money. Next one up, Michael Smith. Michael Smith won a couple events at the end of last year. Really disappointing World Championship. Had a chance at the Masters to get into the Premier League, wasn't able to do so. Michael Smith, just for me, I don't get why he doesn't win more championships. It's got to be in the head. I know him and Ian White are friends, so maybe that's his problem. Maybe just don't hang around with Ian White anymore. Or if you're going to practice, don't practice with Ian White. Now, Ian White does well on the floor, but maybe that, whatever it may be, that double when you need it, he just doesn't have it. But I still like him on the floor. He's going to hit 180s, especially with these new players. Just, he's going to hit some big averages. It's going to be tough to beat. So I'm Michael Smith to be pretty consistent over the 4 days and get enough money to get into the top 10. Next one, come on, ride the train. I'm taking the Polish Eagle. You know me and the Polish Eagle. I like the Polish Eagle. I might be the only person in the dart world who likes the Polish Eagle, but I love the Polish Eagle. I know if you gave him a beer at a bar, you would be locked in the best conversation of all time. I know it doesn't look like it, but all he needs is probably just a couple pints, you know, maybe some spicy wings, and I'm sure he would talk your butt off. Anyways, Krzysztof Ratajski is one of the most consistent dart players. And again, another one where he's not going to hit the 180, flashy 180s, but he rarely doesn't go to the board and hit 100 or 140, and then usually dynamite on doubles. And it seems like he might have a little bit of that flooritis. Certainly not at the level that Ian White's got flooritis, but it's certainly becoming a trend. But I like Krzysztof Ratajski to win enough money over the floor events. I mean, Krzysztof Ratajski was winning PDC events when he wasn't even a PDC member. So, and those were on the floor. I like him to win enough money here. Next one up, Jose de Souza. Consistency. If you look across last year in the PDC and in the floor events, very consistent. No one wants to play him. Hits 180s for fun, miscounts for fun, but he's so far ahead of you, he can do the miscounts. Usually what beats him in a PDC championship on the floor is just a brilliant performance. So unless someone's throwing a brilliant performance at him, and that could happen, but I think over consistency over 4 days, he's certainly going to be in the money. Next one up, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this with a little bit of a, I'm not sure. And that's Joe Cullen. I think there's a crossroads for Joe Cullen right now. I think Joe Cullen's a fantastic player, but he doesn't win. He did win some championships. He won a European championship, but he plays well and doesn't win. It's that, like, he certainly doesn't stink the joint out. He plays well and he loses. And I don't think that that's a trait that you want to carry forward. However, I think just, even when he's lost in the last 2 championships, to Michael Van Gerwen in the World Championship, and then lost to Gerwin Price in the Masters. I mean, he's not losing the chump change either, but, I think at the end of the day, seems to have the fire underneath him, sees what Johnny Clayton did. Probably going to say I'm going to play Johnny Clayton. I like his odds there. And I'm going to take him to be in the top 10 for the money. Next one up, the person who took out Peter Wright in the World Championship, Gabriel Clemens. Again, capable of big averages. Very consistent over the PDC. Very rarely loses in the first round. Gets to his board final, and then once you get to the board final, right, you got the chance to make the bigger money as you go up and through. So, consistent player. Certainly doesn't seem to have a big old personality on him. I'd like to see that. But in terms of watching him play darts and watching the throw, pretty consistent throw. And once he gets going, he can be pretty lethal as well. So I'm gonna take Gabriel Clemens there. Ninth, our heavy metal. I'm gonna take Ryan Searle. Won a championship last year by beating Michael Van Gerwen in the final. Consistent. He's practicing with Gary Anderson. Gary Anderson's going to push him. And I'm going to take Ryan Searle for the 9th. Now, who did I leave off? I left off some pretty big names. Left off Gary Anderson. Yeah, I'm just concerned Gary Anderson wins 1 round and goes home. Or he just plays, Yeah, I think Gary Anderson might be there. That was the one I was tossing with Joe Cullen and Gary Anderson. But left Gary Anderson off. Left Rob Cross off. Left Dave Chisnell off. I don't see them laying markers at the beginning of the year in the top 10. Left James Wade off. That could be a big mistake. I probably left James Wade off because I really dislike James Wade. And I hope he doesn't do well. So if I pick him, then I might hope he does well. Well, even if I picked him, I would hope he doesn't do well. But again, a consistent player, does well on the floor. That could come back to haunt me. With the 10th pick, I decided I had to pick someone who's a new tour cold or a new tour PDC card holder. And for this one, I decided to go with Boris Koltsov as my 10th pick. I think Boris is a fantastic player. I said that in a previous video. He should have had a tour card for a while. I think he's got the game. Going back through his averages, fantastic. Again, there were some tour called holders like Martin Schindler, Raymond van Barneveld, Neil Zonneveld, you know, some Joe Mernon, Andrew Gilding, some players that have been on the tour before, but I was going to pick someone who's just brand net new. And Boris Koltsov is it, and hopefully I'll have a vodka in his honor after he wins he wins a PDC championship. I may not see that, but I think he's got a good enough game to get at least to a couple quarterfinals, maybe even a semifinal, and that just would add up to enough cash to get into the top 10. So again, my picks: Gerwyn Price, Peter Wright, Michael Van Gerwen. Boy, that's original. Went a little bit, well, not off the board, but I guess in the mid-tier for Michael Smith, Rutowski, and D'Souza and Cullen. And then a little bit farther off the board for Clemens and Searle, and then really off the board for Koltsev. What I'm going to do is after every event, I'll just give a rundown of that event and my thoughts. And then at the end of the 4 events, we'll see how I did. And then after this, we get excited for the UK Open, which is one of my favorite tournaments because of the draw can be just wild. You could have Gerwyn Price play Peter Wright in the first round. Or sorry, not the first round, but once you get into the players jumping in, you can draw anyone, which makes it really, really exciting. But I hope everyone enjoys the darts. We'll see how I do tomorrow. Hopefully one of those 10 that I picked wins the PDC championship #1 tomorrow.